to TLC, where we dive into the heart of our local community, its wineries, restaurants, business, and real estate. Hi, I'm Troy Anderson, along with my co host Pamela, and we're here to bring you a new perspective on what's happening in our community. This week's show, we also have a very special guest.
Very special.
Mayor Mike Millman. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. We've entitled this show Guardian of the City, and it'll all become clear why in just a moment. All right, Troy, we're going to kick off our first segment, which as always is Sipping on Success. A quick overview. We're going to open a bottle of something. What do you have for us this week, Troy?
Well, we have Guardian Cellars right here in Woodinville. Their 2020 Gunmetal, which is, I've never had it before, but it is my favorite blend. It's a Bordeaux blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Petit Verdot, aged 22 months in New French oak.
Very good. Now everyone will see the play on words there, the pun. Guardian, City, Mayor.
Mayor is kind of the guardian of the city.
All right. So do we need to start keeping a list of all your favorite things? Favorite blend, favorite wine? You say that.
I have lots of favorites, don't I?
I know. That's why we should keep a list.
We should.
We should, yeah.
Then we can narrow it down.
Yeah, I don't think there's any narrowing it down for you, is there?
I'm a fan of wine. And we're pouring these in the Woodinville Wine Country 21st anniversary. Woodinville Wine Country is 21 years old as of this month. And we are the Woodinville Wine Country Realtors. We are the only realtors endorsed by Woodinville Wine Country.
Wow, congratulations to both of you. Yeah.
Thanks.
And
I need a round of applause for this, don't I? I'll put it in my machine later. All right, so cheers everybody. Let's see what we think of Troy's favorite blend. Smells good.
It does. It smells very good. Mm. Yep.
Okay.
That is good.
Yeah,
All right. Man, Mike, are you going to kick us off with what you think of the wine?
I'll share a little tidbit. Jennifer Sullivan, the owner and who runs mostly Guardian, and it came from her husband, who's a retired police officer, and I believe it was Linwood. And Jennifer's a good friend of ours. She used to be in the media, as my wife is.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, Jennifer, I think it was King, but I honestly can't remember. My wife works at the other Cairo Television. But yeah, they're great people. The name Guardian and some of the gunmetal. Our favorite is Chalkline.
Chalkline, yeah, I always get that when I go out to eat.
Yeah.
I'm loving the names of these. I mean,
Yeah.
I've not tried this before, and it's
They're
really
all
good. But
they're all like police
oriented.
Yep.
Well, that makes sense.
There was the informant. I saw, what else did they have there? Oh,
I don't know.
this is the gunmetal. So
Okay, so the gunmetal.
it's very tasty.
All right, so describe the flavors for our listeners then, Troy.
Well, it's very deep. I mean, it's still. I took one sip and it's still lingering in my mouth. So it's a wine that's going to last a while in the bottle. It's a 2020, so it's pretty new. But yeah, I mean, it's got great flavor.
What are you tasting in there? I know normally you say, well, it's got a bit of pepper, or it's got some tobacco or blackberry. Or what are we getting from this one?
It's very smooth. It's not a lot of fruit forward, but it is a little fruity.
A fruity little number.
Fruity little number. Sounds better with a British accent.
It's not bad. I quite
Yeah,
like it.
what do you think?
I like it. A little dry on the tongue.
Yeah.
Not always my favourite thing, but it does have a robust flavour to it.
I like those
would agree.
tannins that kind of suck all the moisture out of your mouth.
Yeah, that's your thing,
No.
not mine. Like, as long as it's got a good after flavour, that like this one does linger. I like that because then you feel like, okay, you can put up with the drying bit because you get something else afterwards. I'm always about what comes next.
Jennifer put on the description, sucks all the moisture out of you.
I don't think that's good marketing, actually.
This is not a porch pounder.
No, let's not do this. Oh, God.
We gotta say porch pounder every episode.
Yeah, no. We got to find another terminology for you for those drinks that are easy to consume is what Troy's talking
Yes,
about. Porch
the
pounder.
late afternoon patio.
Okay. So, any particular reason why you picked gunmetal as opposed to any of the others that were?
Just because of the blend, the different names of the wines are different varietal types and different blends, and so this is one of my favorites. It's a Cabernet heavy, but it's a Bordeaux style wine, in that it's a blend. It comes with Merlot and also Petit Verdot. There's other varietals that sometimes go into Bordeaux blends, but this one only has those three.
Right. Well, a couple of weeks ago we were doing tasting some vintage wines with Adam from Woodinville Wine Country. It was
Yes.
a game of is it wine or is it vinegar? This is definitely wine. I like this one. Good job, Troy. All right.
Yep.
Well, we're going to keep our Sipping on Success segment really brief today because we have a lot to talk about with the mayor. So we're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, we'll be talking with the mayor about all sorts of fabulous things. Right
Woodinville
after
related.
this. Exactly. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after this very short break.
Are you in the market for a new home or looking to sell your current one? 10 Home Team is here to help. As community-focused real estate agents, we are dedicated to providing personalized service and support throughout the entire process. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or a seasoned pro, we've got you covered. Let us take the stress out of your real estate journey. Contact us today at Tend Home Team. Welcome back to TLC, Tend Life Community Podcast. And we're going to move on to segment number 2, and it's our community connection and real estate roundup. And so with our guest, Mayor Mike Millman today, we're going to talk about all things Woodinville.
I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, so Mayor, is there anything going on in Woodinville? I mean, it doesn't seem like
I
there's
think
a lot
that's like a
going on.
really leading question, Troy. I mean, let's. I'm sure there's lots going on, but before we get into that, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So for our listeners, so just a little bit of background on you. I mean, we know who you are, and most people
Oh,
have
that's
heard
perfect,
of you,
yes.
but they may not know why you're our mayor, what you did before this, and kind of what drew you to politics. So, you know, can you spill the tea for us, or the wine, whatever you want to call it?
Sure. I spent, well, I'm still involved, so 33 years in different leadership roles in the fire service.
Oh.
I moved to Woodinville in '92. I was working for the City of Everett Fire Department. And post-retirement, like I said, I did different leadership roles in Everett. I was a small business owner for a while, for about 7 years during that time. And then retirement, I got recruited to serve as Woodinville Fire Commissioner.
Okay.
And that's a political role, much narrower focus, but it's an area that I'm knowledgeable and comfortable in. During that time, I got recruited to serve on city planning, and I served 2 years on City Planning Commission.
Oh.
And from there, I was recruited by the mayor at the time, Elaine Cook, to serve on City Council. And so I've spent 2.5, maybe closer to 3 years now on City Council.
Goes quick, doesn't it?
It does. There is a lot. You guys were talking about it earlier. There is a lot going on in Woodinville. And January of 22, in our system, the council elects the mayor. And I was elected mayor in January 22. It's a 2-year term. My term expires at the end of this year. I'm running for re-election in November. And the council will select a
New
mayor.
mayor at that time?
A mayor, yes. Whether
A mayor.
Yes.
It could
Yes,
be you again.
let's
Okay.
get it right.
Yeah.
A mayor. We're not
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
he's
yeah.
going anywhere yet.
Okay. So you can serve more
I'm
than 2 years.
Yes, I would like to. We got a lot going on. I have things that I believe Woodinville needs that we need to continue working on. So I would like the opportunity to continue to serve. You know, public services is my background, whether it's coaching, Woodinville Fire Commissioner. I've served on HOAs and
Those are
volunteered.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is he's not done yet. You
not
have
done yet.
plenty more to do.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Woodinville, and I'd like to continue working on some of the stuff. That's what I enjoy doing, is actually getting stuff done for Woodinville, and we've got more to do.
Yeah, I know. I see you out and about everywhere. You are the mayor. You're the face of Woodinville. And you really support our community, and we appreciate that.
I appreciate you saying that. I like to be engaged in the community and hear what's going on or what people think about issues around. I have my priorities, but I like to hear what other people want to see happen. My priorities are public safety, of course, and infrastructure, and I'm working very hard to provide resources for homelessness and behavioral health and our parks and trails and different recreational opportunities around Woodinville. And
yeah, I heard recently you got extra funding for the park that's just up the hill from us here, right?
Yeah, Wood Trails, which is just east of here. It's kind of west of West Wellington. It's our largest park now in the city. It's 56 acres of preserved tree canopy that we're going to build out the trails. Last December, I was able to pass a motion to fund the trails from our park impact fees.
Okay. So not additional taxes.
No, this is paid for by a developer, and actually the money's coming from East Rail, which is right downtown where you see the chain link fence. The money's came to build out that park came from that development.
Okay.
All good things.
So development can't always be bad.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've had this conversation a few times where some people, don't really want that growth and development, but it inevitably has to happen, which kind of leads me into the next, kind of topic of conversation was, the growth and development of the city is something that's inevitable, right? It happens, and it can be great for the community. Can you share with us some of the current projects and initiatives? Obviously, you just talked about the park, but there's lots more going on. So what else is happening and how it can potentially impact the community, whether that's positive or negative?
Sure. We do have a lot going on. We're really growing, like a lot of King County is, but Woodinville in particular is booming. We expect significant growth over the next 5 years. Some of the developments that the bigger ones that we can talk about are the East Rail that I just talked about downtown. That one's really exciting because, like I said, it paid for our biggest park for the trails. We also had a few firsts there. So our first affordable housing came from that development, and those are
63.
I'm sorry,
63 of them.
There's 64 townhomes.
64,
which is the first ownership opportunities in downtown since, well, you probably know better than me, but I think since the 90s.
Correct. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and the 10% of the apartments are going to be what we call affordable, workforce affordable.
Gotcha.
And those are our first in downtown ever,
Okay.
And those are our first since the 80s. And the cap on those will be $1,400 a month in rent, and so we're designing that for our baristas, wine pourers, teachers. You can't make over $57,000 and qualify for those.
I see.
So I'm pretty excited about that. That's our first, and then we get a grid road through there that'll help ease some of the traffic on 175th. It'll go across Wood Snow Road over to Little Bear Creek Parkway.
Okay.
Which will be
so
another
the
way.
U.S. Bank building is gone.
U.S. Bank is going to be moving to on 140th to the Union Bank
Right, because
site.
they just bought Union Bank.
They did buy just.
So that's perfect for them.
Yep. There'll be very little disruption, but we get a much needed grid road to release some of the traffic. Yeah.
So can I just go back to the affordable housing portion? And you said that it's for people that make less than $57,000 a year. Those are buying opportunities and they're not renting?
There's two.
There's
so
both.
so the townhomes, the 64 townhomes, will be ownership opportunities.
Okay.
The first, like I said, since like the 90s.
Right. So there's apartments going in as well?
And there's apartments going in. There'll be retail on the bottom, and apartments above. 10% of those units will be the affordable, capped at $1,400 a month rental opportunities. And like I said, those are first we've done ever downtown, and they're the first since the 80s. So it was time, and it's much needed. It's very expensive to live and work in Woodinville. So we're trying to make that better for our residents as well as our businesses, and so it's important.
Well, yeah, the people that work here would like to be able to live here, and I think that's great.
We talked about this on previous podcasts, but I think there was a study that 93% or 99% of the people who work here have to travel here to get for work. So
And we're
that
trying,
don't actually live here.
and we're trying to do something about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yep.
sure. That's
Yep.
awesome.
And it certainly seems like you're keeping it sympathetic to the environment that we're in, kind of the aesthetic of what's going in there, and being cognizant to not displace businesses, unnecessarily. That's all strategic, right?
Absolutely. We have a vision of making our downtown very walkable, very vibrant, things to do. We get a lot of tourism into Woodinville, and so we want things for people to do and for businesses to flourish. So we are trying to concentrate that growth downtown, and the benefit of that is that we get to preserve our neighborhoods, the characteristics of our existing neighborhoods. So it's a win-win where we can provide our residents lots of things to do and help our businesses and preserve our neighborhoods all at the same time.
That's great.
So for a lot of people, one of the challenges they might see with all of this growth downtown is the congestion with traffic.
Sure.
So we know that there's something happening about that. Can you share with the listeners what the city is doing to try and scale that and make sure that it's less of a disruption and free up space for people?
Sure, I'd love to. One of the most important things we're doing, I went back to Washington, D.C. about a month ago now, and we were lobbying to get the rights to pull up our rail, our abandoned rail line that's just north of that goes along the trestle north of the post office there. And that's been a 7-year project, and so
It's certainly a bottleneck.
It is. It's our main bottleneck. The road narrows coming off 522. It's the main egress and entrance into Woodinville. We're gonna take that bridge and we're gonna repurpose it to cross Little Bear Creek, where there's a salmon barrier blocking culvert.
Okay.
And then we're gonna put a new bridge there. And while we do that, the roadway underneath we're gonna expand from 6 lanes to 8 lanes. Longer turn lanes, more, so that should relieve a
So
lot
you
of
can
that.
get into McClendon's now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anybody listening isn't quite sure what we're talking about, it's where the old abandoned 76 garage is near McClendon's. That's been vacant for a very long time.
Yes.
So yeah.
And the bridge, we're real close to finalizing the bridge, and it's going to be much more functional, and aesthetically, it's going to be a much better welcome mat to Woodinville.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I heard that maybe there's a park too.
So I'm glad you brought that up. There's so many things going on. I'm the opportunity now to pull up the rail. We're going to send an RFP, request for proposal, for pulling up the rail. We're going to recycle the tracks and the ties, and when we do that, we're going to make a long linear park with some diagonal parking there.
Okay.
And there's been some talk that I'm a big fan of, and I'm going to fight hard for this one. Making that park, it's going to really, that area needs some TLC, and we're going to, no
like
pun intended.
It's like, oh, hey,
We
perfect,
like it.
perfect
It's all
tie-in.
good. It's all good marketing.
Well, it's like the other side of the tracks though too. He's got that really divides the area.
Yeah, and we're going to put the current thought is we're going to put some pickleball courts in there for some more recreational
pickleball.
opportunities. You guys play pickleball?
I've heard about it.
Okay.
I have played it. Yes,
Yeah.
it's fun.
In the fire department, we played it fairly frequently. It's it's a really fun sport, and it's booming.
Yeah, I know.
The courts are popping
You
up
have to
all
be
over the
careful who
place.
you play with. Some people get a little aggressive. Mayor Mike, do you get aggressive when you play?
I think I'm mellowing a little bit. Maybe it's the wine. I don't know, but I come from a competitive family, and I can get a little competitive and stuff like that. I try to tamp it down, but
Well, I've seen your workout outfit, so he came to the Woodinville auction in like a 70s short shorts.
Yeah.
For the auction night, was it the 80s theme or whatever it was?
Yeah,
Okay.
80s theme, so.
Is there photographic evidence of this?
There
Is what I want
is,
to know.
there is. He actually won Best Dressed, I think, right?
Unfortunately, there was.
Richard Simmons by night.
Oh, really?
It was, yeah. I was one of those things that, do I really go all in, or do I?
You were all in?
Yeah, I went all in.
I think people appreciate it when when you do make the
Yeah.
effort and you go all in. As embarrassed as you might feel about it, the next day.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you think is facing the city right now, and what's being done to address them? I mean, obviously, roads and that kind of thing, but on top of that, what else do you see?
Yeah, so Woodinville has been it hasn't grown that much over the last decade as much as we are going to over the next decade or the last few years and 7 years going forward. We need to keep up with our infrastructure. That's roads that we talked about. That's the trestle, adding new parks, water systems, sewer systems, lighting, sidewalks, bike lanes, all of those things. And we're working. One of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand is that the GMA requires Woodinville to meet certain growth and job targets. And
Meaning
again,
they're mandated to grow.
yes, basically, yes. And as I said, King County everywhere is growing.
Yeah.
Woodinville is no exception. So we've taken the vision of concentrating the growth downtown, but to do that, we need to address some of the bottlenecks in our traffic and improve our traffic. So we're doing that. And then water systems have an opportunity. We have the things like the culvert. The state mandates us to pull up this culvert that blocks some of the salmon spawning, and so we're going to do that.
And you're going to reuse the trestle that's there.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Do you know
have
what you're
that
gonna do
one
with it yet?
repurposed.
It's part of that bridge is going to go across Little Bear Creek where there's a culvert that is one of those. I don't know if you've seen them before. It's a round corrugated metal culvert.
Kind of a tube, right, basically?
Yeah, and that's a state priority culvert for removal. So we're going to remove that and then use the bridge to cross the stream.
Is that like a footbridge?
No, it's actually a car. So
Car? Oh, okay.
yeah, and so we'll use that for that. So that's kind of our staff came up with that idea, and I thought that was just wonderful. So we
And
can.
then what about the tracks and trestles and all of those things? You're gonna, I mean, I know you guys are really big on recycling. Do you know what you're gonna do with those bits yet? Make it into art or?
We go out for a proposal here soon. So the steel in the tracks will be recycled, and the creosoted railroad ties. Those are more of a problem, but they can be recycled because of the chemicals in them. So we're going to pull those up. The little spikes that are in there, we have plans for some of them. Congresswoman Del Bene helped us a lot with it, and her staff helped us a lot with the rights to pull up. So we had to talk to the STB, which is the Surface Transportation Board in D.C. They control the rail across the country. So we had to get final permission from them to pull up the rail, and we finally received that. So I would like to. When I was back in D.C., I was looking on Congresswoman Del Bene's wall, and she has a lot of the areas she represents has art of those areas on the wall. She didn't have anything with Woodinville, so I'm kind of wanting something with East Rail, maybe a spike or something involved in a little 3D art or something, something that says thank you and this is a project she really helped us on. So
Maybe you
Cool.
can find a local Woodinville artist to help with that.
Yeah.
I've reached out to the Woodinville Arts Alliance.
Yeah, Carol Hook can help you out.
I've actually talked to Carol. We've tossed around some ideas to do just that.
Cool.
Yeah.
You got all kinds of things going on.
I'm not kidding. There is a lot going on.
I've got this image in my head of Mayor Mike just spinning plates.
It's-
like all these things going on.
He's actually brave enough to get on Woodinville Neighbors too. Do you know that?
I'm
Well,
not going on there.
Troy, I'm glad you brought that up. So one of the main goals, one of the most things, when I was a union leader in Everett, I was really frustrated that the union would kind of be led by whoever showed up and was the most noisy,
Right.
and I didn't like that because I didn't think it was representative of the whole. And so when I was doing that, it doesn't sound like any big revelation now, but I pushed and we created a survey monkey where we could actually push it out and get more engagement. So serving both on Woodinville Fire Commissioner and on the City Council and as mayor, I'm really frustrated that information is difficult to get out and also receive from the public.
Right.
So yeah, I spend time on Woodinville Neighbors because like a podcast, and I really appreciate this opportunity. But Woodinville Neighbors and Woodinville Weekly are two of the best ways I know of getting information out. And so I spend time to really try to let the public that we serve know what we're doing and that your government has a plan and that we are working for you and working hard and we're doing some good things. So because I know nature abhors a vacuum, and I don't like that vacuum out there, and so I want people. The hardest thing is that some of this stuff is very nuanced and technical, and it's not great on social media, but I try.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I appreciate it. I see you on there all the time.
I mean, you can't ask for
So-
more than that. You know, you've been so involved in the community and really trying to get that information out to people. However it's delivered, it's, you know, I think that benefits the community as a whole.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
So
Okay.
you clearly love the city. You
I do.
clearly love this area. So what do you think sets our city of Woodinville, apart from the other cities in the region, and what makes it such a unique place to live and work? There I go again, tripping over my tongue.
So I grew up in Renton,
Mhm.
and I was working in Everett, and that was a commute that was just tough. And I wanted to be closer to work, and so my research centered around something that was accessible to Everett. And I was looking. I was young and single, but I knew I wanted to buy a home, and that was going to be my home for a long time. And so I looked at, and then at that time, the North Shore School District was second in the state, ranked behind the Mercer Island School District.
Yeah.
As a young firefighter, I was not going to live in Mercer Island, I can tell you that. But so I settled in Woodinville in '92, and have been there ever since. My wife and I got married in '97 and raised our kids here, and this is now home, and we love Woodinville, and we
Cool.
love it. We love it for the people. I can honestly say that I just have made so many good friends and met so many great people in my time in Woodinville, and it is unique. I've spent other time after retirement. You know, we thought, well, where can we live? And my wife works in Seattle, so we were limited that way in some instance. But we had a conversation, and we aren't leaving Woodinville. We love the people, and we love the location. We love the area. You're close to the mountains, close to the water.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to, you know, say that's great about it. But would you say that maybe the community is the most unique thing about it then?
Yeah, we have a really interesting mix of urban and rural
Mhm.
that doesn't exist in many cities in this
Mhm.
area.
For sure.
So we have an R1, which is for your listeners, is 1 acre lots, and that was one thing that I worked really hard to preserve, because some of the House bills that were focused on affordable housing, middle housing, was not going to work in areas that don't have the sufficient infrastructure like sewer systems, stormwater,
Right.
sidewalks, and all that. It was not appropriate for us, and would have been it would have been a real challenge to meet those goals in areas that don't have that infrastructure. And I was trying to explain that Woodinville is different. Nobody between us and Seattle has that mix where they just didn't understand,
Mhm.
And so I've actually taken some of the elected officials on tours around the area and shown them the growth that we're concentrating downtown, and how some of the other neighborhoods we want to preserve, and those don't have the infrastructure, and we want to preserve those neighborhoods. And so luckily we were successful in that endeavor. So
Yeah, we'll talk about that next.
Mhm. All right, so
Real estate roundup section.
yeah, when we get to that in a couple of
I
minutes.
jumped the gun, it sounds like.
No,
No,
you're
you're
fine.
good.
You can talk
Yeah.
about whatever you want.
Little teaser, keep people interested.
Okay.
We'll be back with that.
Let me have another sip of wine.
Yeah, there you go.
You go ahead.
Take a break.
So, you know, you've obviously achieved a lot, but, you know, how do you balance the needs and interests of the different groups within our city? So, you know, you've got businesses, you've got residents, you've got the community organizations. You know, how do you balance what everybody needs? I mean, I should imagine that's quite a difficult task.
It is. I think it's helpful. We talked about it earlier. I think it's helpful letting people know what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think once people understand why the growth is occurring downtown, they'll be a little bit more forgiving of the traffic, which we're sorting out, because we have it. We have a plan, and we know it's going to be inconvenient when we take down the trestle. That's going to be inconvenient for a period of time, but over.
I remember the bridge project. It was
Yeah.
quite the epic.
Oh yeah.
Traffic.
even just things like. So I worked hard. I was frustrated that the 76 station you mentioned earlier, Pamela, was. We looked into possibly buying it. I talked to the owner of possibly cleaning it up, and it's right there at our entrance to Woodinville.
Yeah.
And that had been abandoned for years, and it was kind of an eyesore.
It is an eyesore, yeah.
And we weren't successful as a council, so again, I'm kind of competitive, and that didn't sit well with me, and so I worked for about the past year. I worked different ways trying to figure out how to get that started to get cleaned up, and I worked with Sierra Construction and the property owner, the new property owner, actually getting that cleaned up. We recycled all the metal. I was intending to auction off or get the sign out to somebody, but when it got on the ground, it was just huge.
Too big.
It was just up in the air. It doesn't look as big, but it got on the ground. You're like, oh! I took a tape out there, a 16-foot tape, to measure it, so I could tell the people who already had interest in how big it was. And my 16-foot tape was 3 feet short on the diameter.
Wow.
So it's 19 feet in diameter.
Tough transporting that. So
Yeah.
will they cut it up?
They all of it got recycled.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
nice.
So it didn't work out exactly the way
Didn't
I
get
wanted,
repurposed, but it.
yeah,
Recycled is good.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if we can't repurpose, then recycling is just as worthwhile for the environment.
I agree.
Now, there's lots of infrastructure things going on, lots of initiatives, but there's some stuff going on potentially that's more kind of fun related.
Mhm.
Want to tell us about Wilmot Gateway?
About which?
Wilmot Gateway Park.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. So, one of the things we talked about pickleball and new parks, and so working with the Chamber of Commerce and Woodinville Wine Country and the Woodinville Repertory Folk and What's Up kayak boat rentals and
Oh, yeah.
The stand-up paddleboard people, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's down in Kenmore.
So every summer we have the concerts in the park, and we have a
Yeah.
portable stage that's a challenge to put up and take down, and then we always have problems with the electrical and the sound system, and so working with all these groups, had the idea of actually doing a permanent stage down on Wilmot, and along with that, I really wanted more recreational opportunities downtown, so I thought, well, why don't we attach a kayak, paddleboard, boat
Yeah.
launch to the stage? And so we had people come to our council meeting advocating for that, and the What's Up guy in Bothell came, and when you're sitting there wanting to pass something on the council, you're kind of looking around, and that's why I don't like Zoom. You're looking around to see people's body language, how they
Right.
react to something, and you're counting votes.
Yeah.
And when I was talking about my proposal for a permanent stage and kayak rentals and boat and a paddleboard, I'm looking around and I wasn't sure. I honestly couldn't tell you. So he started talking. He said, in Bothell, his kayak and paddleboard rentals, he goes, the number one question I get from people renting in Bothell is, can I go to Woodinville and wine taste? and I just,
Awesome.
I got this.
That's exactly what you needed in that
Yeah,
moment.
and
wasn't
that
it?
was not choreographed. I would like to take credit for that, but it wasn't. But as soon as that came out, I go, oh, I got this. And again, the start on that, the permitting design stuff is paid by park impact fees, which is the development going on is no taxpayer money has been spent on that, and if we do it right, no taxpayer money in the future will be spent on that also.
Yeah, I mean, I think that area is kind of underutilized, except for during the concert season. It's just
Yeah.
one big grass
Oh, yeah.
field.
Yeah, we have that. We have a great little Sammamish River there. We
Yeah.
have the trail. We have opportunities to add more things than just wine tasting, and we can add pickleball. And another idea I have is to actually, when we do the electrical for this, what I'd like to do is, I think my vision is to having different electric bike docking stations around the different areas in our city that you can
Okay.
access on the trail. So I'm not a big fan of the Lime scooters laying all over the place
No.
that block
Yeah.
the sidewalks and our ADA issues. But if you had a docking station, people can rent bikes and go about our city very sustainably and easily on our trail system. And then when they're done, you dock the bike and you get your credit card released and your deposit back. And so when we do the electrical, I plan on proposing that and putting that in that too.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I like that.
I love those e-bikes.
I don't think I've ever been on an e-bike.
I haven't been on one, but I love the concept.
Okay, so when
I
Mayor
keep
Mike
telling
gets
Natalie
this done,
that we need to
then-
get them.
so we should have a team outing on the electric bikes.
Well, the East Rail corridor, which is part of that trestle, so that'll stretch all the way from our northern city limits on the rail. It'll go past the Cross Kirkland corridor there,
Yeah.
past Google, It'll go past Amazon in Redmond. It'll go past another big employer you might have heard of. Did I say Amazon? Microsoft in Redmond.
Yeah.
Amazon in Bellevue.
Okay.
And then we'll end down near the Boeing plant in Renton. And so it goes past a lot of employers, and people will have an opportunity to bike or e-bike or, to a lot of employers, and
Take some cars off the road.
it will, and it'll give a lot of recreational opportunity. And then eventually, when Snohomish County starts doing their part, it'll go up to Snohomish, connect to the Centennial Trail, which goes all the way up to Canada.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be really, really
Yeah.
cool. And people, I don't think people realize how big a deal and how utilized that will be.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Well, I think, this area is definitely all about outdoors. So I think anything that you can add to everyone's experience of being outdoors is a good thing.
Yeah, and we do the stage. That'll allow us to do more concerts. We've already talked to the Woodinville Repertory folk, and they've committed to doing 4 weekends in the summer of plays, and maybe we have Shakespeare in the park, and the Woodinville Arts Alliance have talked about having art shows there, and so we can do a lot more activities there by having that. So
Yeah. Farmers markets right across the street. There's
Yep.
tons of stuff to do right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Maybe we can try and figure some things in for the younger generation too.
that is an idea that I actually think I want to take on as soon as I can catch my breath on some of this other stuff. But yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, we have lots of adult stuff to do around here, and some of the stuff we're adding is older kids or younger adults, or however you want to phrase it. Yeah, we need more for our youth to be able to
Middle
do.
school, high school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Area.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, I feel like we could talk for hours about everything that's going on, but I think what we should do is have you come back and talk about as things progress. But before we move into our next segment, one more question for you. What are some of your favourite things to do in the city? What's your favourite hidden gems that people might not know about?
Oh.
My wife and I went here last year, and I really surprisingly had a good time.
Surprisingly?
I don't have an artistic bone in my body.
Okay.
I can't paint, I can't draw, I don't write very well. As you may have seen some of the articles in Woodinville Weekly, I don't write very well. We went to Molten Works.
But you do have really good dad jokes. I was hoping we were going to get one today.
Oh yeah, we gotta have a dad joke before we leave.
Yeah, I get that from my kids, and my wife will groan about a dad joke that I throw out. But Molten Works. So we went there, and of course it's a Woodinville activity. You got to sip wine while you're doing an art project, and I really enjoyed that. I was surprised. Mine was mediocre at best, but for me that's pretty good. So.
But you had fun doing it.
I have had a lot of fun doing it,
Yeah.
and then so we bought some friends of ours, and we have 2 boys and that have longtime girlfriends, so we bought them presents to go there to, and I think both of them have now did it. And I know for sure one of the couples has, and they had a lot of fun too. So
Yeah, Kevin's the owner of that, right? Kevin. I forgot his name.
I didn't meet the owner, so
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I'm not.
He's pretty involved with the community. We used to do lunches at his old studio.
Okay.
Through the chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think stuff like that, the cultural stuff, plays and concerts and art shows and stuff is we need to do more of that, because that serves a segment that's needed around here to do more things centered around the arts. So yeah.
Yeah, I must admit, I've been to Molten Works. It's good fun.
Is it?
Yeah, I love doing anything creative. I'm not
Oh, yeah.
necessarily any good at it, but I do enjoy it. But that's half the fun, right? Is just immersing yourself in it. Doesn't matter what it turns out like,
Yeah.
as long as you have a good time.
Could be an interesting date night thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, it could be. Yeah, and like you say, they serve wine,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
so take Natalie.
You got to have a
enjoy it.
podcast with the wine. You got to do art with the wine. You got to.
Everything's
Yeah.
got to be with wine.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
sure it's
Woodinville.
involved.
I know.
With no wine.
I know.
All right. Well, thanks very much for that. We're going to move on to our next segment, which is our real estate roundup, and
Okay.
we want you to participate in this portion too. So, Troy, you're up. Housing bill.
Housing
what is
bill.
it, and how will it affect Woodinville, if at all?
The housing bill, the middle housing, HB 1110, for those paying attention, it passed, and they are allowing fourplexes and duplexes on single-family lots. But there's certain criteria. So Woodinville sounds like you advocated to get excluded from that. requirement.
Yeah, we went down to Olympia, and like I think I said earlier, or I was thinking, and I can't remember now, but I've taken some of our representatives on tours around Woodinville to kind of show them what we're talking about. Uh, we were connected with that bill initially from the GMA contiguous borders from Seattle, and we have neighborhoods that large neighborhoods that actually do not have the infrastructure that needed to divide like they're proposing, that have this sewer systems, stormwater, sidewalks, and all that other infrastructure that goes along with that. And that bill would have forced either the city, Woodinville Water District, or the property owners themselves, or some combination thereof, of spending a lot of money to upgrade that infrastructure to meet the zoning that they wanted.
It's mainly to put in sewer, right?
Yeah, and that would have disrupted a lot of work that we're trying to concentrate the growth downtown and preserve our neighborhoods. And we are meeting our growth targets. I try to emphasize that over and over and over again. We are meeting our growth. We're probably per capita growing as much as anybody around, and we're doing our first affordable housing. And so accomplishing that allowed me to tell our elected officials that we're meeting our GMA targets, but we're doing it in a local way that we know best how to grow Woodinville more than Olympia does. And so it was kind of a broad brush being painted with us in some other larger cities. And luckily, I reached out to, and I'm sure I wasn't the only one, but I reached out to Senator Mullet, who I got to know. Ironically, I met him the first time at a Chateau Saint Michel concert.
Okay.
He was standing in line ordering wine, go figure, and I could tell by the conversation he was having with who I thought was his wife, which it was, politics. And so I just took it upon myself to introduce myself, and we got talking. And we have a mutual friend. I'm good friends with the Mayor of Issaquah, Mayor Pauly. And so we got talking. I had dinner at his house here, my wife and I, last fall. And
cool.
And I knew him to be a very pragmatic politician. And I told him, Senator Mullet, I said, this thing would be disastrous for Woodinville. And he passed an amendment to exempt cities under 25,000 and also another exemption of areas that don't have proper infrastructure like sewer systems. Right. And we dodged a bullet there because that bill was on a freight train. It was moving very fast.
Okay, so for people who maybe don't understand what the bill is for, I mean, my understanding is that they put it forward so that we can have more housing without pushing boundaries back of where housing can be built.
This bill and then House Bill, the ADU House Bill 1337, they're both aimed at creating middle housing or affordable housing. But I'm a proponent of that because we do need more affordable housing.
Sure.
However, I don't like the fact that Olympia is taking a big stick to the cities and saying this is how you need to do it. Because each city, like you just said, there's nuances to every city. Even the ones that fit this criteria, they should have their own plan. That's why they're a city.
Right. And cities have always been for local control to build out their city. The GMA gives you targets to meet.
Sure.
And we are meeting and exceeding those targets. And I took the stance that as long as we're growing and meeting our responsibilities of growing our middle housing, our affordable housing, and meeting our growth and jobs targets, we should be left alone. And the nuances of, I don't think anybody between us and Seattle has neighborhoods that don't have sewer. If there are some, I don't know where they are, and they're very few. And we have a more rural areas in Woodinville that don't meet that broad brush, and so I worked very hard to explain that and try to get that.
Yeah, and what I've read of the bill, it doesn't look like it affects Woodinville at all, but it is interesting that the other bill, the 1337, allows you to legally have 2 ADUs per lot. So I'm just diving into that one to figure out, how.
Can you tell our listeners what an ADU is in case they don't know?
An ADU, yes, all these real estate acronyms. So there's an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. There's also what's called a DADU, which is a detached accessible.
So a little bigger than a she shed. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, a little bigger than a she shed. Typically, I think Woodinville's limits are 1,200 square
Yes.
feet.
Yep.
So you can have a detached or attached ADU to your property currently in Woodinville, as long as it's under 1,200 square feet.
And you can rent that out to people.
You could possibly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no restrictions on that I'm aware of.
Yeah, and you know, the challenges of that, you gotta have the property that has sufficient infrastructure, like, you know, if you have a septic system, it's gotta be able to.
Oh, sure.
to
It has to be
handle-
permitted.
Yeah, and so there are controls on that, and that have to fit in with the infrastructure,
Yeah.
was what I'm concerned about. You know, I applaud people for buying, you know, it doesn't matter to me if you live in an apartment, condo, townhouse, single-family residential on a quarter acre, 1 acre, that doesn't matter to me at all. I respect people's wishes to live however it is they want to live. So my goal is to preserve that, at the same time meeting our targets, so I can tell Olympia we are doing this, and we're meeting our targets in a very Woodinville-sized way, so let us continue doing that.
Yeah. Well, what I'm hearing is, don't just go and buy a shed and stick it on your lot and expect to be able
Yeah,
to rent it out.
plug-
you need to,
plug power into it,
You need to
yeah.
think about it a little bit more deeply than.
Yeah, you have to
than
meet
that.
the design standards of the current code in Woodinville. So yeah, I mean, and if you're a homeowner and you want to know how to do that, maybe you want to expand for extended family or other purposes. Yeah, just reach out to us.
So, Mayor Mike, if people want to get in touch with you and talk about the city or anything else, where can they connect with you? And we're not going to hand out his telephone number, just so everyone knows.
Well, I try to do my best. It's possible that I haven't done it 100%, but if somebody wants to reach out with a question or a concern, they can go to the city website, and under local government, I have an email there, and they can click on that and send me an email. And I've tried to return every single email that I get. Please don't give me 1,000 over the next week, because I won't be able to meet that. But I do try to be conscientious about responding to the people that I'm serving. So, yeah.
I think it's just good to know that you're listening, right? So even if you
Yeah.
can't necessarily respond to them all, you are looking at them and reading them, and you're taking on board what the residents in the community want.
Or say
Absolutely.
something grossly incorrect on Woodinville neighbors. He'll chime in.
I might just do that this weekend just for fun. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
I'm
no.
just kidding.
No, don't do that to him. Don't do
I'm
that to
just
him.
kidding. All right. Well, this has been absolutely fascinating, I have to admit, and we'd love to have you back on.
Lot more to talk about. Even.
I know. That's what I was gonna say.
we're
We should
done.
have you on again if you're up for it. So
I would love that. There's other issues that we're working on, like public safety, that is a big priority for me, and
well, I feel like that could be a whole episode all
segment,
by
yeah,
itself.
for
So
sure.
let's get that on the calendar to get you back on and talk about that.
we're doing a lot for homelessness resources for our first responders, and
No good.
adding stuff that, so you're right, there's a
Yeah.
lot of nuance with that.
All right. So on the next one we do, I also want to talk about Woodinville Fire versus East Side, but we'll leave that as a cliffhanger for
Absolutely.
the next
Oh,
one.
yeah.
All right. So if you've enjoyed the show, we would love for you to like and subscribe. You can do that on any of your favorite podcast platforms, or where else can
Please.
they find us, Troy?
On YouTube, and you ding the dinger.
Oh God. Give us a thumbs up and subscribe.
Subscribe, yes. And I forgot to mention, we are finishing our wine here. These classes, these Woodinville Wine Country commemorative classes, are available at different wineries starting in a couple weeks. And so we'll have a list of those where you can go out and get a special pour of wine at that winery and take home the class.
All right, and if you want to find out more about real estate in our area, you can contact us at tenthometeam.com, or you can call Troy at 206-504-3660. Please send him lots of questions. It keeps him out of my hair.
Thanks, everybody.
See you next
Thanks,
time.
Mayor Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for a real estate company that truly cares about the community and has a wealth of experience in the local market? Look no further than Tend Home Team. With over 20 years of experience here in the Pacific Northwest, we know the ins and outs of the real estate market like the back of our hand. Whether you're buying or selling a home, our team of experts is here to guide you every step of the way. And best of all, we make the process fun and stress-free. We love getting to know our clients and helping them find their dream home or sell their property quickly and easily. So if you want a real estate company that's truly focused on you and your needs, choose Tend Home Team. We can't wait to work with you. Contact us at tendhometeam.com or 206-504-3660.